Okay, it is 7 o'clock, so we can get started. So I'm going to call the meeting to order, and this is the regular city council meeting for the city of Minnetrista. First order of business, just a reminder, if you have cell phones with you, please put them on airplane mode or on silent so they don't disrupt the meeting. And second, I'd like to invite everybody to join me in Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So good evening, everyone. Everyone that's here this evening, welcome, and also those watching on YouTube later on. First, I'd like to start out with some introductions. I'm Lisa Whalen, I'm the mayor, and to my left are council members Kathleen Refkin, Ann McGregor, Peter Vickery, and Claudia Lacey. And then on the end, we have our city engineer, Allison Fauski, our director of public works, Gary Peters, and we have Ali Paulfus, who is our Director of Administration, and then also Ann Meyerhoff, who is our new city clerk. You're still new. You have to be here a whole year before you're no longer new. And then to my right, we have our city administrator, Jasper Krugel, and then we have Brian Grimm, our finance director, David Abel, community development director, Sarah Sansala, our legal team, part of our legal team, I should say, and then also chief of police. That concludes my introduction. So with that, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. I have one change. Senator Morrison will not be able to be with us this evening. So under special presentations, we're just going to take public comment, and Brian will have a brief presentation as well. Other than that, I have no other changes. Anybody else? Then is there a motion to approve the agenda as changed?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Vickery. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. So I'm going to start with Brian. He's going to give us an overview on the budget and levy for 2024, and then afterwards I will open it up for any public comments. Mr. Grimm.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. So I will, just in case I need the clicker, you never know if I got to emphasize something really important. So I think it's, oh, there we go. Skipped ahead accidentally. So as far
That was
as,
really fast.
I know, right? Yeah, you probably want me to be brief, but not that brief, right?
Right, not that
So,
brief. Okay.
As far as today's meeting, it's our last regularly scheduled meeting of the year, so we're looking for action on the council and the final tax levy to adopt before the end of the month here. So that's our focus, and we're going to go and outline some of the highlights here from our process and some of the main key points. So as each year it's always a multi-month process. It's not just we just didn't get here and come up with this. So we're meeting back in starting in August, and we looked over the initial presentation and ended up at that September 6th meeting certifying a preliminary tax levy of about 15%. And so over the next few months, we went through a process of completing the final budget, and you'll see there was a couple outcomes from that. Staff, and after the work session earlier today, we're looking at now more of a 12% net levy increase, which is $175,000 less than what we had originally certified back in September. And then later in the meeting, we'll have the budget documents, which as presented, but with that additional $100,000 that we reduced at the work session earlier, and we'll work on those action items later in the meeting. So here is the summary of the levy. So you can see the different components there: the general fund, the debt, road maintenance, and our equipment, CIP equipment levy. You can see the main, and we'll talk about that later. The general fund levy had the largest increase, and that was due to some of the, we had some increases for union contracts and some other things, that we've talked about through the budget process. The debt fund levy is going up, mainly due to about $350,000 with our new 2023 road projects. You can see some of that's offset by what we're levying for just general road maintenance next year, but we're still spending relatively the same amount on roads. And then you can see that gross levy of about $6.5 million, and then with some fiscal disparities dollars we get from the county, the net levy that will be sent to our residents will be a total of 6.38 million basically, and spread to all parcels in the city. So here's just a quick trend slide of our general fund revenues and expenditures the last few years. You can see we've back in 2020 and 21 we were more focusing on getting our roads levy up and stuff. So now you can see the last couple of years has been more some of the different adjustments we've had to fund our general fund operations, whether it's some of the salaries and benefits we've talked about, but even just fuel and other things that just cost more with inflation and other things like that. So here's just another way to look at it. You can see that first line shows our tax levy the last basically about 5-6 years. The next line shows some years we use some dollars in the general fund. Some years, the 2020 is the big anomaly. That was the CARES dollars that came in. So and we're not putting $670,000 to we basically spent that then over the next couple of years or so. So you can see otherwise, we've done a good job of monitoring that, and we always talk about keeping that balance at 40% or higher, and through the budgets presented, we're going to be achieving that. So. Tax impacts, that's probably what everyone wants to know. So you can see a few different property valuations, 450, 650, 850, and then the correlated adjustments based on, it seemed like the 10%, 9-10% seemed to be the average valuation increase for 2023 value for 2024 taxes. And you can see based on our levy increase about 12%, with, we're growing at about 2-3% a year, so that helps offset the levy a little bit, or offset what the effect on people's taxes. It gives us our projected tax rate of a little over 19%. You can see the annual difference on those homes is anywhere from about $100 to $225 based on, obviously it's the formula is based on valuation set by our Hennepin County does our valuation, and then it's sent through the state property tax formula. So just a couple more slides here. I think I mentioned earlier some of the assumptions, and with the increase for the labor contracts, with first year is 2024, 2025, and 26 will be not quite as big an adjustment, so that'll help in future budget years. We do have some one-time public safety dollars coming in to help fund our equipment plan, so we pretty much just have some tax levy dollars and then fund balance in those one-time dollars. We didn't need to do any equipment certificate or anything. And then the pavement management plan, we're funding at $450, but then the new debt levy of the $350, so we're still levying about $800,000 for roads. General fund, we're using about $193,000 on hand. It helps keep the general fund levy a little lower, but we're still working our way back to a balanced budget, or not using any fund balance, so that we keep working at that. We talked about that on that previous slide, the fund balance percentage. At the end of 2023, we should be closer to 50%. At the end of 24, probably be 40, low 40%. And then I guess the other piece of that one-time public safety money, we're putting about $200,000 in the general fund, and that other $172 in there just to spend on some equipment squads and different things like that. So in summary, we are again looking for that action later in the meeting on the final tax levy. There's good discussions that we've had, including tonight. Staff had recommended to reduce the levy by about $75,000, and council saw another $100,000 to do. So I think it was just good teamwork, probably to help at least lower it from basically the 15 down to the 12%. And then I guess I've already mentioned that under the business items later in the agenda, we'll be adopting the levy budget and fee schedule for 2024. So if anyone has any questions at this time, otherwise.
I don't think we do right now because we've discussed it a number of times, but what I will do is open it up for the public. If they have questions or they have comments, you can come to the podium. You have to state your name and address for the record, and we'd be happy to answer your questions or take your comments. Okay?
My name is Tom O'Gloyes, and I live at 3210 County Road 44. I call it Forgotten Minnetrista because when I last appeared before the council in 2002, Mayor Whalen was a member, of Mayor Fisher. There were only 2 council members that knew that my house was in Minnetrista. The rest thought it was in Mount. I'm the 4th house north of the Halstead Bridge. That's the amusing part. Here's the less amusing part. I wasn't sure what the procedure and what I was, I know what my intent is, but if this is just about Minnetrista's portion of my entire tax bill, that's less important to me than the total tax bill. And I hoped our senator was here, so she could take a message back to her other members. But I want to.
And just to answer your question, we only have authority over the city portion.
And I
So,
understand that, but
yeah.
I also know that the city can take a position in contacting representatives at a higher level to express the concerns and issues that its citizens may have.
okay, sure.
And that's, I guess, expanding why I'm here. But
Okay.
I want to go over some numbers, because this issue of rapidly increasing tax increases, I think the finance director said it's about a 12% increase.
Yep.
Not at my house.
Your valuation
I
increase
always
must be a
wanted to be a
lot.
millionaire, but I didn't want to pay for it at this level. But the two levels are the local level, city, all the way up to state, and then on the national level.
Okay.
And I understand, we're not Steve Phillips and quitting our jobs this year. I just want to go over something. In 2022, the value of my home was $1,091,000. The next year, it went up to $1,610,000. That's an increase of 47.6%, $519,000. Not to be particularly sarcastic, it's more than 10%. It was 2 years ago. But this year, it's up to $1,822,000, which is a 15.5% increase. The total is 67% in 2 years of the fair market value of my home, $731,000. Okay? My tax itself was $12,100 in 2022, went up to $15,606 in 2023, and in 2024 now it's up to $18,000. So it's a almost 50% increase. And as a retired senior citizen, I'm playing the old card here, immunocompromised.
Yeah.
That's predatory to people at my age and income level that are retired. So on the local issue, when I talked to the assessor last year, I hope to be present tonight, he told me my home was in a group of only 14 homes of which he adjusted prices. It's the 4 homes from Nickham's property, Jasper, Quady, and Bourgeois. To make it even more confusing, my home's under the name of a trust, of which I'm a trustee and grantor. And then
Are you on the north or are you, which side of
I'm
44?
on the mound side of the bridge. My
Okay,
house
yeah.
is my
Yeah, yeah.
house lot line is the.
It's- So you're on the east side of 44.
I would call it the north. Yeah, I'm on the
Yeah,
east side.
yeah,
I'm on the
okay.
east side, but I can
Right.
see Hallstead's
Yeah.
across.
No, I know where you are. Okay, I'm
I
sorry.
came by in 2000.
Yep. Okay.
So
Can-
statistically, that's an insignificant sample. It's only 14 to 20 homes. That's what he told me the sample was. And it went up so much in 2022 because of one sale on Lythram Avenue across the lake from me that had a substantial increase in value. And the assessor said that's why mine went up 47.6%.
You do know so a couple things. We understand what you're saying, and we're trying to be very careful as to how much dollars we levy against your property, for instance. We have no say right now over the value of your property. That is something you do have to take up with Kevin Wynn, the assessor. And then if you don't get resolution or aren't happy with that result, you can actually take it to the county board. There's a timing issue with that, and you've kind of missed the timing right now, but you could do that next spring. And I would highly recommend that you follow through on those procedures, because we can't change the value of your property. The only way to reduce your taxes right now is to reduce the value of your property. And we have no authority to do that. So I'm not trying to be.
Which date, excuse me, Leila, what date did I miss? Because when I got the notice of my proposed taxes.
Okay,
the
that's
date says
right.
December 4th at Minnetrista City Hall.
What?
I obviously misinterpreted that to be this meeting being a much broader forum than what you're
Okay.
showing me it's just Minnetrista's portion of these taxes.
So first of all, it's just Minnetrista's portion of the taxes. There's also notice on there you'll see where you can also address the county. But this is just for taxes. It's not, taxes payable, but it's not for the valuation of your property. And the valuation of your property, generally you'll receive somewhere in the time frame of January through March. You'll receive a valuation notice for, it'll say 2025, for instance, and then if you want to talk to Kevin Wynn, the assessor, it'll tell you the date that you can, or you can call and talk to him, and then it'll tell you the date that you can meet with him, and then if you don't like the results of that, it's usually, again, early, I don't know the dates, I'm sorry, I don't have them in front of me. If you don't like the results of what Kevin tells you, you also can appeal to the county, I believe. And so,
Yeah, the valuation statements go out in March, so it'll be 2024 valuation for 2025 taxes.
right,
And then there's basically open book meetings. There's multiple meetings, either I think either virtual or in person, that you can attend. There used to be one here, now they've made them more regionally. And then and then Kevin also, wants people to call ahead, and he'll talk to people,
Right.
In conjunction with the meetings, before the meetings.
and then I think there's also a process for you to, and again, pardon me, I don't know that process, but I think there's also a process where you can say, well, this was too high 2 years ago. So, but I would highly recommend that you talk to the assessor, and he can give you those timelines and that process information, because we can't change anything here tonight. The only thing we can do here tonight is we can pass a levy, and that's what we're doing here tonight, and we're getting your input. And what I'm hearing you say is, your taxes are pretty high. I absolutely get that. But we can't change the valuation of your property. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
I appreciate your explanation, but you can also be a forum to be aware of what's happening to the citizens of what you represent.
Sure.
And when taxes in 2 years go up 67%,
Yep.
I would perceive that as an issue that should get the attention of the council, and perhaps even if it's the
Right.
actions like Mayor Fisher tried to do to prevent the development of the monstrous project on Kingsport, you took action.
Right.
And I'm hoping that my words here, which are one among many,
Sure.
can be proactive in your efforts.
Okay. Thank
Can
you.
I make a couple more points? Or if my 5 minutes up, is this not alarming? Is it?
Go ahead.
We have a trap door. There you go. You're safe now. I'll give you a few more minutes. Sure.
Okay. Just a couple of points
Sure.
that I'm sure you understand. On the national level, or any level, this is predatory to seniors. Okay? Many states, and I did some research, cap their property taxes when people reach retirement age, whether that's 62,
I hear you.
65.
I'm all for that.
Great.
I'm all for that.
Now,
Yeah.
if our senator was here, we could address that with
Sure.
her, but she chose not to be here today.
Right.
Here's what Minnesota does. We can defer paying our taxes, of which you place a lien on our property, charge us interest, and then when I die,
Right.
if my children are
Take the property.
rapidly awaiting the day, then it gets paid out of the transfer
Right.
deal.
Right. I know. It's right.
You get your money both ways. But
Right.
on a national level, that I call it a somewhat sneaky legislative action taken between Christmas and New Year of 2019, when among certain legislation, they snuck in the cap on salt, state and local taxes to 10 grand. I'm paying 18 grand, I can only deduct $10,000.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
I've read the
I-
Constitution, and I'm not either of those 9 judges up there, but it doesn't seem right to me. So, I would ask the city council to take a position on this, contact Senator Smith and Klobuchar and Congressman Phillips before he retires or whatever his future actions are.
Okay.
And I appreciate your time, I appreciate your explanation. One last question. This assessor, I don't remember his name being Kevin, did he
Well,
just
he's
change him this year?
no. He's been our
Same
assessor
same
for
guys
yeah.
I dealt with in the past? past.
Yeah, Kevin Wynn's been our main contact since.
There may be another
20 years.
person that he works with that does some of this. So if you call the Hennepin County Assessor's Office, ask to speak to Kevin Wynn, and then he's the person you should speak to.
It should be listed on your paper, because info is on there,
On the valuation.
on the valuation. It's
Kevin
on,
Wynn's over there.
Okay. All right.
it's
I
on one.
appreciate you listening. I hope you can take some action. Just one last thing. This is over 50% of my social security gross.
But yeah,
Taxes.
I know.
You know,
Yeah.
play the fair card all day long. I'm happy I'm a millionaire because of this valuation, but I'm not happy to pay $5,939 more than I paid 2 years ago.
Okay.
Thank you for the extended time you gave. me and our
You're
council
welcome.
members. And as
You're welcome.
finance director, I know you can directly reduce my tax. No.
Yeah, we like to blame Brian, you know, just.
Chief, you don't have to stop at the house anymore. You've been a good boy.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you. Anybody else for this?
Sure, I have a couple questions.
Sure, come to the podium. Thank you.
My name is Michael Young. My address is 5425.
Michael, turn the microphone. Sorry.
I'm sorry. My name is Michael Young. My home address is 5425 Yellowstone Trail, Minnetrista. I just have a couple of questions looking at the numbers. I see that for protection, police and fire is about 3.63 million of the 6.8 million. Is that, percentage-wise, is that typical of most communities in this area? It seems awfully high.
I would say public safety is usually about 50% of a city's general fund budget. I mean, that's.
Okay, but you're saying public safety, he's asking police. Mike,
Police and fire.
Police
oh,
and fire.
okay, okay, I just wanted to make
Yeah,
that clear.
don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, but I'm just
No.
trying to get a feel for.
Yeah.
And I know, Minnetrista isn't that heavily populated relative to other communities. So, I don't know how staffing is based on, number of police or fire.
Okay, that's a good-
population.
Yeah, that's a good
percentage.
question.
If I may,
Yeah.
I've done a little research into this recently, just because we have some contracts with outside services for fire, and looking at what per capita cities in Hennepin County have paid for police and fire services, and I'd say we're below average. For police, we're at depends on what the population count is, about $284 per person. Some of them go up to $700 per person per capita in Hennepin County. But Brian's spot on that roughly about 50% of levy amounts go towards public safety in Hennepin County in general in cities. So we're right there, right in that mix. So, but I think as far as what we're paying per capita is pretty good right now.
So the 2.9, what is that comprised of? Is that vehicle, salary, what exactly is it? How many officers, et cetera?
Yeah, so you're spot on with that. We have 15 officers.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
We're trying to have.
We have 15 officers authorized. And then, all the squads, all the time, the admin time. We have 2 administrative assistants there. And then I think that's probably about it. But yeah, basically everything that encompasses our
CIP?
police force,
CIP?
CIP, equipment.
So that's
Equipment.
salary, overhead load, all that stuff?
Yeah, we have
Everything,
our bond, our debt payment for the police department, building, CIP, equipment. Chief, can you think of training? There's training.
That number does, Madam Mayor and Council, it does encompass everything. That's staff, equipment, building, and everything that goes with that. So
So
training.
do we own the cars or lease them or what?
We own them, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And no ambulance service?
We don't pay for ambulance service. There's an ambulance right next door, but we don't pay for that.
And the fire does that include the payment to St.
St. Bonnie and Mount.
Yeah, we contract.
Okay, so we don't have a fire department. per se.
No.
Okay, so that's contracted services.
Yep.
Okay. Let's focus on the legal, since that's my profession. What's the hourly billing rate for lawyers here? And the firms that we use?
Depends on what
gonna have to look-
what we need.
Yeah. There's different ones based on general services and then the development fee, which is generally a pass through to developers or development agreements are being developed. That's a little bit higher rate. So I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head. I'm not sure if we have our legal counsel here right now.
Explain to me a little bit what we use legal services for.
So
This-
counsel for
I'm trying to understand the range of, you mentioned development. Does the city engage a law firm to review development on
It-
behalf of the city?
agreements.
Yes, but then the developer has to pay those costs, so that our taxpayers aren't paying
So
that.
that wouldn't be included in that number.
That wouldn't be. So general legal services, like what Sarah Sunsall, Ms. Sunsall is providing tonight, is just guidance for city council. We ask her to be at the meeting. We have a retainer contract with Kennedy and Graven. And then additional things that are outside of the retainer, we get charged hourly for. And that rate is also described in our fee schedule.
And the retainer is how much? Is it a monthly, annual?
Monthly,
Monthly, what would it,
$3,000 a month.
three grand a month. Yeah.
So, Mr. Young, we really don't want to have to go through the whole budget, but
No,
but I understand your concern.
I'm not going through all of
Okay.
that. This is basically my last one.
Okay,
My question is, have you put this out for competitive bids?
we've compared.
We have not, but we watch the market, both with engineering too. Engineering and legal are two big kind of retainer services that we have. And we watch the market and we make sure that it's within what we think the market is.
And what is the hourly range at Kennedy and Graven for lawyers?
It's in the fee schedule, which is not.
But
You wanna pull up
that would be more
220?
though. That's not what we're paying.
No,
What,
Right.
what
No,
we're
I'm just curious,
It's
the hourly range
220.
for the services they provide here. I mean, do we get $500 an hour? I
Sarah.
mean, I'm paying some lawyers $1,200 an hour.
Yeah.
no.
So
So the retainer is obviously the retainer and that
But
ebbs and
okay,
flows.
hold
but
on. Sarah, can you answer the question?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, our hourly rate, I believe, is like
$195 an hour is for the city.
5 to the city.
Yep,
to
yeah.
the city.
Yeah.
That's when the city's paying directly. We provide legal services for the city, not just to develop development-related issues, but we do employment issues, reviewing personnel policy, labor issues, pretty much everything on this agenda is, something. that we-
They review contracts that we have to
We
sign,
review contracts, we review public bidding issues that come up,
Yes.
competitive bidding.
ordinances, yeah.
Ordinances we draft, and we also take part in these city council meetings, we answer questions from staff and the city council.
Does that answer your question?
yeah, I think that
Okay.
answers my question. One other question from a macro
Okay.
perspective, and then I'll be done.
Okay,
And I was remiss for not looking at this or trying to do some research. Has the council ever thought of de-annexing from Hennepin County and going to Harper County?
no. No. That process is difficult and very difficult.
But I mean,
Yeah.
in light of the gentleman's comments, I mean, part of the problem, and I've gone through that root canal with whatever his name is.
Kevin.
And I will tell you, I told him when I received my assessed value for my house, I called him up and I said, I'll tell you what, I will sell you my house today
Yeah.
for $50,000 less than the assessed value. It's yours. And he said, well, I'm not gonna pay that. And I said, why not? That's what you assessed it for. He said, well, you gotta understand the process. Assessed value is nothing more than a plug. And he admitted, he said,
Sure.
we're paying for, the homeowners are paying for the loss of commercial real estate value in downtown Minneapolis because of the George Floyd situation. And he said, they're not gonna, you got a budget number from Hennepin County, they plug it, and they do it by manipulating the assessed values.
And that's for the county taxes
And we
that you're
aren't any
talking.
happier about it than
We
you
are
Yeah.
in the same.
Yeah. No, I understand.
I'm really unhappy
I'm just
about
saying, it's the most arbitrary,
It is.
ridiculous process, and I felt for that gentleman because effectively what they're doing is forcing him to sell his house
Right.
Right,
and leave.
that's
Yeah.
right.
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
And, you know, these legislators, and I too am disappointed that Senator Morrison wasn't here.
So
So am I.
So am I.
Because, you know, frankly, I was going to give her an earful. I mean,
Totally.
these people are fiscally irresponsible,
Agreed.
and they just burden the homeowners in this state, and it's ridiculous. And, I mean, fortunately, I'm able to pay taxes and not on a social security situation, but, I mean, I really feel for a lot of the people.
Sure,
who
we
have
understand.
made Minnesota their home for
Yeah.
their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now they're just paying ungodly amounts of taxes.
Yeah.
So, and I hear you, I know you have no control of it because, from what I gather, it kind of flows back through the property tax bill based on the assessed values. So it's a computation on the tax bill, but, you know, it's very frustrating because
Right.
we as the public really don't feel like we have any ability to control any of this.
And your only control is this evening. So, what is your assessment, or what are your comments regarding our budget and
Well,
our?
you've answered my questions.
Okay, all right,
So
then.
that's fine, and,
all right.
You know,
Yeah.
we'll,
Okay.
try to work the system.
Go to the county.
Email Senator Morrison.
All right.
Mr. Hanson doesn't.
Again,
Mr. Was it Kevin?
Win.
Kevin
Win.
Wynn. But
Kevin,
feel
he
free
doesn't
to
like- he
email,
doesn't like-
feel
Listen
free
to
to
this.
email Senator Morrison how unhappy you are. Maybe if enough of us reach out to her, she'll show up once.
Okay,
All right.
will do.
Again,
I'm not
thank-
holding my breath.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
All right. So that concludes our. There's nobody else here, so I'm assuming that can conclude our public hearing regarding the budget and levy. So we're going to move on. There's nobody else under persons to be heard. This gentleman already spoke that signed up. So we're going to move on to consent agenda items. Ms. Refkin, you wanted to remove
I just want to pull 4D to discuss.
4D. Okay. So then any other ones you wish to remove or pull?
No, we're going to add that to a work session
Okay.
in January.
H?
Don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
Oh, okay. All right. So that leaves A, approve our work session meeting minutes from November 13th, 2023. B is approve our city council regular meeting minutes from November 13th, 2023. C is approve the city council meeting calendar. I just have a question on that.
Yeah.
Didn't we want to, or do we want to add the second annual holiday tree lighting event to the calendar?
Yes, we should.
Okay, so we'll talk about that under staff reports because so we'll move on. We'll approve this now, but we'll talk about that under staff reports. All right. And then let's see. E is approve our MOUs between City of Minnetrista and local unions for the 2024 cafeteria plan. And F is approve our MOU for the LELS 343 probationary language revisions. And G is approve MOU for the IUOE Local 49 regarding compensatory time payout. And then H is approve changes to the 2024 personnel policy. I is a resolution to approve claims. J is a resolution to approve the final budgeted transfers for 2023. And K is approve a simple subdivision request for Sharon Thaler for 3316 and 3320 Williams Lane. I is a resolution for the Planning and Parks Commission appointments for 2024. I just want to say we still have openings for alternates for both our parks and planning, so please apply if you're interested. And M is a resolution to accept improvements and authorize the final payment for the 2023 street reclamation project. And one more, we have N is approve our task order. It's task order number 07 for the design, bid, and construction administration for wells number 8 and 9. Is there a motion to approve those consent agenda items?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. McGregor. Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. And Ms. Refkin.
So with regard to the COLA on page 64, I don't have an issue with the 3%. In general, I think we should discuss any adjustments in the business portion versus consent. And then just a question, how are we getting the 3%? Are we checking what everyone else is getting? I know we've always used 3%, but did we double check? This is what neighboring towns are getting, neighboring communities?
Yeah, I can address that. So there's usually a COLA survey that kind of gets circulated around the region, and it varied between I think the low was like 2.75, the high was 4.5, the average is about 3.5. So I think we feel 3 is safe. We kind of internally do like an annual check-in on almost all the positions, and if there's something that is kind of falling back or maybe moving forward too quickly, we would then bring that up to the personnel committee and talk about that ahead of time. But generally, we try to find a number, we plug it in as early as we can during the budget process, June, that we think is going to be okay. So hopefully, if we think that there's going to be any changes, we'll have that conversation mid-year. So we've had 3%, I think, plugged in the whole time this year and haven't made any adjustments. So.
Anything I might have shot you, but when it's 3.5 versus 3.
Yeah. So I think we're okay just checking in, but if there is something, we'll propose what we think it will be, and if it's different than 3 is I think kind of a safe number. But if it's different, maybe higher or lower, we would then have a more of a conversation about why and share some of that. But
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right. So then, you want to make a motion to approve the 3% COLA increase for non-union?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Vickery. Any further questions, discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. So next, we move on to our public hearings, and this is in regards to our 2024 fee schedule. Brian, do you want to take that?
Yes, and Madam Mayor and Council, I don't know if we want to have me talk for a minute, or I guess we open up the public hearing for make it official, and then
Okay, all
do
right.
that, and then
So I'm going to open up the public hearing. There is nobody here, so I'm going to then close the public hearing, and I'm going to ask Brian to talk a little bit about the fee schedule.
okay. Yeah, so this is on page starts on 215 in the packet. So the fee schedule is attached with any changes that are proposed are struck through, and then the suggested change is next to that. Most of these items, pretty much we've talked about through some of the enterprise fund work session budget discussions, from the water rates, the sewer, rate, talked a little bit about how to handle the apartments coming online at the end of next year, the recycling fee, and then, some of the other items for like the land use, which we have to have the public hearing for. Those changes have been notated in there for, the engineering and legal fees. So, I don't know, I guess I'll probably open it up to any questions for the council. Otherwise, I guess staff would recommend approving ordinance 487 for the 2024 fee schedule, and then adopting or doing the resolution to publish by title and statute, save the putting 9 pages in the paper. So.
Yeah, really. So just FYI, talk to staff. We're going to be looking at an ordinance possibly sometime in January, and we'll bring that back to council and discuss any potential fees for that. I'm not
Would
going
be
to.
a work session?
Yeah, we'll do it at a work session first.
and it's an administrative fine ordinance.
Right. So we'll talk about that in January. Okay. Other than that, I didn't have anything. Any questions on the fee schedule?
I just have a question on WSB fees for Allison. What's the difference between a survey office technician and a regular office technician?
Thank you for the question. So within our surveying department, we have certain personnel that are mostly office. And so they would do things like coordination of the survey crews. They would do things like researching county records when it comes to getting easement descriptions, that sort of thing. So there's just a differentiation between the field crew and the office crew.
Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, if you're okay with adopting the fee schedule as presented, Is there a motion to adopt ordinance number, and it's by ordinance, so it's adopting ordinance number 487, and that is the 2024 fee schedule. This will take effect January 1st.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Lacy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. And next then, can I get a motion to approve the publication of ordinance number 487 by title and summary?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Vickery. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. McGregor. Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 5-0 again. All right, so now we'll move on to our business items, and this is regarding our budget approvals. We've kind of gone over this, so I hope you don't have 9 slides.
No, I do not have any more slides. If anything, I'll
Okay.
just go to page 228, and just for clarification, the amount that that we'd be looking for a motion to, I guess, adopt by resolution, the final 2023 tax levy collectible in 2024 would be $6,518,104. It'd be $100,000 less than what's showing on the page. They're based on
Right.
the earlier discussions at the work session, and we'd be looking to adopt that as our final levy that we'd send to the county, and have obviously our final 2024 tax levy.
Thank you. And I will say, as you mentioned before, Mr. Grimm, this was, I think, a good collaboration between council and staff. Excellent job. I know this was a tough year. It was a real tough year. We had some big expenses increases, so I think you did a great job, and thank you for working with the council and coming up with the 12%. So that was great. Really like that. Any other questions or comments? All right, so is there a motion then to adopt and approve the 2024 tax levy in the amount of $6,518,104?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Vickery. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. McGregor. Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. And then we have to approve and adopt the 2024 budgets, the general fund, the special revenue, the debt service, CIP funds, and enterprise funds. Anything you want to add to that, Mr. Grimm?
And Madam Mayor and Council, so that would just be on basically the last page of the packet, page 233. You see the amounts there, roughly around that 14.6 million once all is said and done between the general fund, enterprise funds, and all our debt and capital funds. So obviously the only other change would be the revenue would just be $100,000 less based on the tax levy being $100,000 less, but that would obviously just be reflected in the final budget as it gets published online and put in our financial system, etc. So
Yeah, that's not part of the resolution or motion, right?
no, I mean pretty much the only change that'll be is just that 14,588,000 will become 14,488,000 because we reduced our revenues by 100,000.
Yeah,
So I guess
okay.
whether it's basically adopted as presented with amended just right now, I guess.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. Question, comments? All right, then is there a motion to adopt and approve the 2024 budgets, general, special, debt service, CIP, and enterprise funds?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Vickery. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. That concludes our budget and business items, and we'll move on to administrative items. Staff reports. We'll start with Ms. Falsky.
Thank you, Mayor Whalen, members of council. Just a quick update with the reconstruction project. Just over 2 weeks ago, the final layer of pavement was placed in the project, so the paving is completed. There still remains some work that needs to be buttoned up in the spring. There's some driveway repairs that we'll be working with some residents on, some restoration concerns that were brought up that we'll be addressing in the spring, as well as some tree planting. So we've acknowledged that in the weekly update email that went out to residents that, fear not. We are aware of work that needs to continue into the spring, but getting the project buttoned up for the winter with seeding and what have you I think there was just one area that they had left to blanket, but get that ready for winter and then come back in the spring.
Okay, great. Any other staff reports?
No, I believe you're going to give a little update
Okay,
on the
yeah.
tree lighting event that I think was pretty successful. So I don't
It
have
was.
anything.
So, yeah, it was really successful. Allie, what do you think? 400 or 500 people?
3 to 4.
3 to 4?
At least 3.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was a fantastic turnout, fantastic evening, great. But I do have to say thank you to staff, Allie, Gary, and Jasper, and for Public Works, especially the entire crew. They did a phenomenal job. It was just fantastic. We had a few glitches, but just one, a couple. Somebody lit the Christmas tree that wasn't supposed to be lit. Anyhow, it was funny, and it was a lot of fun, and I think we'll do even better next year. So that begs the question. All I got from everybody that was there, and I talked to a lot of people, and it was like, this is fantastic, this is great, this is such a community, a great event for the community and for families. So I'd really like to do it next year. So I'd like to get that scheduled. And so because Thanksgiving is the 28th, we're probably looking at like the first Thursday in December, which I think is what? The 5th. So I hate to do it before Thanksgiving. I think after Thanksgiving is better. And doing it the Saturday after Thanksgiving seems to be bad because people are traveling still. So that's the best. I think we should shoot for that, the 5th. So if we can actually make that as part of our official calendar, December 5th. And then just FYI, I know staff and myself, and I don't know if Ms. Mortensen is going to be there, but we're going to do a wrap-up meeting tomorrow, kind of go over what went really well, of course, everything, and maybe the few glitches we can work out and some other ideas, and I think it'll be even better next year than it was this year. And thank you all for showing up. Gary, it's going to be better. Don't.
We're on vacation.
You're on vacation.
I'm just submitting my time off right now.
Denied. Your supervisors deny it. But anyhow, very fun event. So what else? There were a lot of things. Let's see. Did we report on the bonding tour? Maybe not. That was after our last meeting. So we did the bonding tour. Gary, myself, Mr. Krugel, and also Aaron Vollmer with AE2S. We had 5 minutes, and we had 5 questions we had to answer. I think we answered all of them. And I think we were the only ones that answered all 5 questions. Wow. And we made it within the 5 or less than the 5 minutes. So we're going to follow up. Jasper and I will follow up with some of the people, and also maybe even make a trip over to the Capitol to see what we can do, because we think it's really important to try and get in on that, on some of those funds. With that, we also then attended, myself and Jasper also attended the first, I want to call it the Highway 7 Safety Coalition. It was Minnetonka, Excelsior, Deep Haven, Shorewood, Minnetrista, St. Bonnie. It was like 7 or 8 different communities, even Chanhassen, that border Highway 7. And so we're forming a coalition to try and get MnDOT to do a safety study, which they have funding for, but also to concentrate on this section of Highway 7 for safety issues, and then hopefully down the road, it might take a while, but hopefully also for some safety improvements as well. So we're going to be working on that. And then I also attended the Rotary and spoke at their luncheon, and that was a lot of fun. And then what else is there? Anyhow, there's some other things coming up. There's going to be the Rotary holiday luncheon that I think Jasper and I will be attending. Anybody else that wants to go is also welcome, I believe. And then I'll also be attending the Northwest League on the 13th, and Jasper will be joining me for our holiday event there. So a lot of other things coming up soon, and I'll report more later. But that's about it. That's it for me. Anybody else?
I attended both the St. Bonnie and the Mountain Fire meetings. Jasper and I went to the St. Bonnie one on November 20th, which was nice. It was a Monday, so the firefighters were there because they have their meetings and their drills. So we got to meet a bunch of the firefighters.
That's
That
nice.
was very nice. Chief discussed their trip to Appleton to do the initial selections for the new truck. As of now, it's expected to be delivered July, August of next year. The old truck will be traded in for $35,000, and that money will go towards this payment, so we will not have any issues with where that money goes. The new concrete slab was put in. It came in over bid due to some additional work that needed to be done with the foundation and just the problems that were there from how it was done the first time. Chief expects to come in under budget for 2023, and that money will go into the contract reserve fund. It should be around $12,000. He plans to make a formal request to the city council in St. Bonnie with regard to Minnetrista's Watertown Townships and Laketown Townships portion of the truck that got sold that St. Bonnie put into their levy. He's
General
asking-
fund.
into their general
Yeah.
fund to lower their levy. He's asking them to use their public safety money and put our 3 portions back into the St. Bonnie Fire Fund. Whether or not that gets approved, we'll see. Jasper did hand out the updated contracts that Jasper and Sarah worked a lot on. So the other 2 Watertown Township and Laketown are going to go over it and make any changes or comments, and then hopefully we'll have all of us on the same page with a similar contract by the May meeting. We did tell them we can do it before the May meeting,
Yeah.
so hopefully it doesn't take that long. As of now, the current contracts all auto-renew in 2026. Recruitment's a big issue for St. Bonnie. They had 13 interviews but won't be hiring anyone. They are down 2 firefighters, or they will be down 2 firefighters by the end of this year, with the goal to be having 28. The duty officer program is going well. Chief wants to expand the pool to include more guys who can fill the duty role. To get more of the current firefighters to be able to do it, they have to be blue card certified, and now half the department is, so that's moving forward. He was reelected chief for 2 more years. The relief fund the relief fund has a balance of about $50,000, and he's going to ask for a drone so they can use a drone around fire sites, a coffee maker, and a stove. Calls for Minnetrista for 2023 are 99 as of the meeting on 11/20. St. Bonnie in general, they have had 197 calls through 11/20 with budget of 200 for 2023. Their budgeted time ends at the end of November, so they were on track to be over 200, but the whole month of December doesn't count towards that, so they won't be over a ton, but still over. Chief continues to work with Chief Peterson and Mound with regard to the Woodland Cove projects. Duty officer vehicle they bought from Mound needs some minor repair work, likely a few $1,000s, but they should be able to keep using it through 2029. A new grass rig is budgeted for 2024, and new bay heaters are budgeted for 2025. Breakfast with Santa is 12/16, and they have an OSHA evaluation on January 23rd. Any questions about St. Bonnie? I have another one. I have Mound coming next. So this meeting was much shorter. I want you all to feel like you were at meetings with us. But the downside is, if you weren't at the Mound Fire meeting, you didn't get to see the new truck, and Jasper didn't go to the meeting, so I got to see the new truck, which was very, very nice. It's like a new toy. Chief was kind of sad.
Except bigger.
It's bigger. It's very big. It's very, very big. And it has really nice lights.
Good. Maybe they'll bring that next year.
Well, it was in the fire station, but then it was leaving the next day to go get stuff mounted
Yeah,
on it.
right,
So,
right.
yeah. But it looks really, really nice. And St. Bonnie will be getting almost an identical one in the same shade of red. And apparently there are hundreds of options of red out there that they got to pick from. Yeah. So, Chief plans on that being the primary vehicle out for the next 15 years. They sold the old one to Isanti for $25,000. The new Chevy Tahoe duty vehicle has been ordered, and expected delivery is sometime in 2024. They did put the new floor coating down in their fire station, so that's why everything was out in the parking lot for those few days. If you drove by, they got the new floor coating done. It looks really, really nice. New turnout gear has been ordered. We are getting 18 sets now instead of originally 16 because the more expensive set is tearing. So they're ordering the $4,100 sets instead of the $4,900 sets because these are heavier for the guys to wear, but they're more durable when they're like crawling and not getting torn on nails and stuff like that. So that was interesting. The additional sets will come in 2024. The new exhaust monitoring system for the bay has been ordered, and their recruitment is doing good. They're losing one this year, but they have one new one lined up from a neighboring community. No, that community is not St. Bonnie. And that next meeting is January 25th at 8 in the morning, which I will be attending.
Okay, thank you.
That one was much shorter. That was a shorter meeting. That's all I got.
Okay. The last Gillespie Center meeting, board meeting of the year is this Thursday. So
Okay.
we'll see what they set up for next year.
All right, good. Are you going to be able to go?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, the news from Pioneer Sarah Creek is that Brian from Three Rivers has decided to wait until 2025 to do the second element treatment on whale tail. He feels that that'll last longer if he waits. And then Hennepin County donated $25,000 additional dollars towards that effort, which probably will cover the inflation in the cost for a net waiting a year. So that's the news that would affect us.
Yeah.
Is there any like downside to waiting an extra year?
He didn't think so. So he thought it would actually be more beneficial. So, yeah.
Kind of depends on how well the first treatment did. And if
Which
it
has
did,
been very good.
yeah, then he's probably going to wait, and yeah, it'll extend the life of it a little longer. That's probably why. Okay.
Nothing to report.
Okay. All right. With that, we can be adjourned if there's a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
So Ms. Refkin made that motion, and Ms. McGregor seconded that. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
Since we
Thank you.
probably won't see most of you before then. So